All right.
So,
I don't know that we
Bianca,
have a lot, I don't know that we have a lot of structure. We have a lot of new people on the board and new Rotarians. So, I've been around for a while, so I kind of know how things are supposed to work. And some of these other people don't know that. And so, I've come to realize in the last couple of weeks that other organizations don't have the amount of training that we have in order to be a club president. They just, they work up their way 2 3 years and then they're president and then they go on. And I don't know that those other organizations have this amount of training and structure that we do. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
it does. When we had pets
Yeah.
and we brought up the club administration committee, there were many people, including district governors, who said, I don't know what that is.
yeah,
And yet there's a job description for it. It's in the president's-elect manual. It's there.
Right.
And so uh, I think part of it is because it's not intuitive, like membership and foundation and so on. But when you think about what's included in it, it does make a lot of sense. So the fact that we only have a few people that registered for club administration is indicative of a lot of unknowns that it even exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think club administration sort of evolves on its own. When you start up a club, it just sort of happens. People realize, well, we have to have guest speakers. Somebody needs to be in charge of that. And that's probably, for years, that was about the only thing that anybody ever pointed to as far as responsibilities of the chair for club administration, at least in our club.
Yeah. Would it help if I brought up the job description?
I have it printed in front of me. I don't know.
yeah,
why
I do
else.
too.
You got it? Okay. I had mentioned during pets that when I was president-elect, Rotary International shifted its board guidance. So previous to that year, the recommended board structure was based on the avenues of service, 5. And that made sense. And I was all ready to go. I'd reached out to people and say, hey, would you serve on the board as club service chair and community service chair and all that? So now I'm president-elect and they send out the new guidance. And new guidance had a different structure with membership and public image and all of that, and this thing called club administration. And I looked at it and I read the description and I could see the real value in having it. And I would just say, from what I've seen, a lot of clubs either don't have a club administration committee, or they have the different functions that are supposed to serve in a club administration committee kind of separate, doing things like the social group is doing the social stuff, and the program group is identifying speakers, and the secretary and a few other people are helping set up logistics and newsletters and things like that. The point of having a club administration committee is to consolidate them into a functioning committee with clear kind of sub responsibilities: the speakers, the logistics, the communications, all of that. But it's not real common to see it.
Yeah. In our club in Las Cruces, we have the program being the primary function of the club administration. The newsletters and stuff are in our public image committee, and the secretary does actually the restaurant puts out all the banners. Secretary sets up the computer and visual stuff. That's kind of the way we've split it up.
Yeah. The secretary is usually, if a club has a club administration committee, the way Rotary International suggested be developed, the secretary becomes part of that.
Right.
Like a key member, maybe they're responsible for the newsletter and taking attendance and things. So if a club administration committee exists, and in fact, when I was going through the different rooms, when I went to the club secretary room, Danette Wagner said, I'm surprised there's not more people here, which is fine. She said, some of them may be in club administration because there's a little bit of overlap. There is a little bit of overlap if the club administration committee works in conjunction with the secretary. That's up to the club, right? So she's correct in principle. It may not be how it really works, but there ought to be a close connection.
Yeah.
That was my second choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the club administration committee chair's job description, the job descriptions are the same under the general category for almost all the different positions.
Mhm.
And it includes, for example, managing your committee's budget. Well, we never had a budget in our club admin. And because there was never really a need for one until I got involved when we moved our location over to Presbyterian's North Side Urgent Care Center there. We moved in with Meals on Wheels, which was kind of cool. A nonprofit helping out another nonprofit. And one of the things that I saw early on after I had visited other clubs was that, hey, we need audiovisual support. So I had to go to the board and suggest, I think we should have a computer and a projector. And I thought, and we should be taking advantage of that type of equipment. And so we can start each meeting before the meeting starts, and we can put up information about what's coming up, what's just happened. We can recognize people. And so the club had to budget for that, but it wasn't something that we had done in the past. And I don't know if we've ever had to, if we've had to budget for money for anything else since then. But once we got our audiovisual set up, then we really, but that was the first and probably the last thing that we've ever had to budget for.
Well, and see, now we're going through the same cycle because we're dealing with hybrid meetings.
Right.
And there's a lot of logistical issues for those of you who are transitioning to hybrid meetings. The whole the audiovisual setup has to be different. And clubs are investing, if they need to, in the right technology so that the people participating through Zoom have the same experience as the people who are in the meeting room. And so, as Bruce was saying, there's now a need for maybe even more spending for unique AV needs for this kind of hybrid environment. Are you all noticing that?
Yeah, what do we need?
That's a good question.
What's your if COVID didn't exist and you were meeting someplace, where would you typically be meeting? Is it a restaurant or
it's kind of a ballroom in a restaurant?
do you have privacy?
Yes.
Okay, does the restaurant have either a pull down screen or a TV on the wall?
Yes. Pull
Okay.
down the screen.
And they have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I think so.
So the key, because that's like how we have it at our Nexus. Hi, Heather.
Hi, I figured out where I needed to be.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And no, that's fine. Thank you. Sorry if it was confusing. Okay, so we were just talking about hybrid meetings for a minute. So the good news, Bob, is that you're meeting in a location that has Wi-Fi and has the big screen TV on the wall. So the need, so here are the needs. If you're gonna have hybrid meetings, you've got to have a computer set up in the restaurant to hook up to the TV. That computer setup will include the Zoom login.
Yep.
Yeah, let me just finish this. You know what? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna
Sure.
break out just for a second. Sorry.
Hi, Jeff. I cannot hear you. I have no audio. I've got my mic off.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now.
All right, which room?
Of the number 4. I'm supposed to be presenting for Ryla.
Okay. Can you join room 4?
Well, it says it has my name, but it says I'm not joined. I don't understand. I've clicked on breakout rooms. When I do get to where I can see the 5 committees and connections, I click on that. It was showing my name, and next to my name it says not joined. I don't understand.
I'm seeing it too, and it says not joined, but you're in the room.
What does that mean? Well, it's not coming up on my screen. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here.
I'll tell you what, let me move you. Jeez, I don't know why it says not joined. Everyone else joined.
Yeah, I've clicked on it to join. Golly.
Let's try something. Well, right now you're in. I don't want to close all rooms. Oh, son of a gun. Everyone else joined, Bruce. I don't know why you should have the option, and I didn't assign you. You chose room.
No, I called and asked you to assign me.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Oh, can you do so now?
I'm showing that you're already in that room.
Yeah, I see that also, but and then then it says that I'm not joined. I don't know what else to. Is there something else I should have clicked?
I don't know, Bruce.
Is there some way to patch me in?
Let me try to move you to a different room, and then I'll try to
Okay.
move you back. Okay, give me a second.
Okay. Okay, it says you're going to club administration. Well, and then when that happens, will it come on my screen? Will I have
It should.
everybody?
Just like everyone else, it should.
Yeah.
Let me go to club administration, and I should see you there.
There, they could look up the words without any problem. And then, of course, we're in Texas, and so I'm the one that leads the pledge every Friday. And then at the back of the songbook, I always tell the visiting guests, if you don't know the Texas pledge, it's in the back of the songbook. So we do the Texas pledge.
Well, that's pretty good.
So Jimmy, how do you get the people that are Zooming into your meeting actively involved in what's going on in the meeting? How do they ask questions?
Well, you know, the big screen TV has the people who are coming in on the Zoom. And so just like when we say happy dollars, we ask the people that's on the screen, so-and-so, do you have a happy dollar? And they just chime in, you know, or if they have questions because, you know, our speakers all been Zoom. Speakers have not come to our in-person meeting. And so consequently, when people ask the question, they ask questions first from the in-person meeting room, and then we ask for people in the Zoom if they have any questions. And just like this meeting right now, you know, they'll raise their hand and say, I have a question, and they just ask the question. Works out real well.
And how do the people that are on Zoom hear the questions that your in-person members are asking?
Just like we're talking right now.
We've got a big room,
Mm-hmm.
and with social distancing,
Right.
Jeff.
So I'm sorry, I had to juggle a participant around. You've got to have in that big room you're meeting in, you've got to have really good audio, like a central speaker. Typically, if you've got like a laptop computer and you're using the laptop computer and you've got the TV on the wall, that's not good enough audio.
Right.
People that are in other parts of the room, the Zoom people are not going to hear it. So you can either buy a room audio microphone speaker system that you can kind of put in the middle of the room. Or, I mean, that's the best case scenario. Or if you're using a laptop or something, you're just going to have to tell people, walk over to where the laptop is and speak so that the Zoom people can hear you.
And
Yeah,
so, Bob, what we are doing is we have a speaker that is set up in the room so that everybody can hear. So it's not really directly coming from the laptop or the TV itself. We have a satellite speaker that we set up so that everybody can hear.
Yep.
Yeah, I looked at, I think somebody at the Zone mentioned those owl speaker.
Right,
The problem with those is they don't work in a large room.
right.
They only work in conference room size rooms.
Right. And then the other thing we talked about is whatever the video is in the big room, if it can't show the whole room, then maybe it swivels. So like whoever's speaking in the room, either you manually or it automatically moves so that the people on Zoom can see the person that's speaking.
Yeah. Do we have either in district or zone a list of these kinds of audio equipment?
Typically, you should have somebody in your club that are very technical knowledge, and they're the ones that are actually able to find it, because there's a lot.
Ability, and it's a difference between first and second-hand knowledge, and it's just not something that that most will accept, and it's self-protection. Okay. Hey,
Can I interrupt just for a second? I'm sorry. There's a few
Sure.
people that were. Bruce, are you here? Bruce Davis?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I assigned you to room 4. You should be able to join it.
Okay, what's going on in there?
That's the breakout room that has membership, foundation, all of that.
Oh, okay.
So you should just have to accept that you've joined that room.
Okay, so that's the one that's 5 club committees and connections.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
But again, we're gonna have to figure out something else. It would be great to use the audio through the television, but we haven't figured out how to do that yet.
And even the audio through the television is one way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I've had to go back and forth. If there's a couple of people that have a problem, I have to get out and assign them to rooms. So I apologize for cutting in and out of this.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was able to just jump into the room, Jeff. I know I couldn't.
No, some did. It just depends on what version of Zoom you have. Some were able to go into rooms.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check and make sure I have the latest update then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I decided I don't have the recent update either because I can't blur my messy background.
Yeah. But I know I didn't have to assign everyone. I had to assign maybe 12 people. So anyway.
Well, it's not immediately obvious, even when you have the latest version, but I finally got in here.
Yeah.
So, when you look at what the future holds for the clubs, I think that once COVID is gone, I think some clubs will continue to have members join virtually.
I think we will.
Like it. It's very convenient. You have to get up earlier and they can just go down, turn on the computer, sign in, and they can participate. I know our club is thinking about is expecting that they'll continue to do this. So we have to find the right combination. Now, but the other issue in our club is we have 2 separate organizations in a way. Jeff chairs our satellite group. Okay, they meet at a brewery in town in the evening. Okay, the rest of the club is a morning club. We meet at 7 o'clock in the morning at a restaurant on the other side of town.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know, Jeff, what do you think? Do you think, when COVID goes away, will the satellite club continue to broadcast?
I think as long as some members prefer being on Zoom, we will offer that option.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you the question that occurred to me this morning during one of the speakers. How are we going to change our billing structure to bill Zoom members differently than or even people that Zoom in just occasionally? Are we going to change the billing structure and change our bylaws to accommodate them at a lesser cost because they're not coming and eating the meal?
Yeah, I think that's valid.
Yeah. And our club already sent out inquiries about how to handle this. And most people are saying, as I recall, Jeff, and I'm not sure if I ever saw the results of that. But I think most of our club, or if not the majority, if not everybody, said, well, continue, I'm not actually sure what happened. The question was, should we be billed for the meals if we're not there?
Right.
And I don't remember what the answer to that was.
We used to be billed for the meals even if we weren't there.
Right.
Yeah, we have
So
been
that's
prior to
something-
COVID.
Mhm.
Right, and our club did too.
Right.
But the
I
Zoom
think we're
option,
entering a new world.
right? The Zoom option kind of opens that up, doesn't it? And I think let's put it this way, all of the flexibility that Rotary is promoting now. The idea of like graded memberships, like if you're maybe a young member, maybe your dues are lower. If you maybe you have a corporate membership where you've got a company that joins and different people attend, they're promoting different models of membership. And I think along with those different models comes flexibility in due structure.
Yeah.
I think it's just natural.
Well, you know, being an AG for 4 clubs, I've had an opportunity to just about attend meetings every week by Zoom. And so what I've noticed is the El Paso Club, which is the biggest club in El Paso. And so when I joined Rotary some 22 years ago, they had over 300 members in their club. Right now, they have 130 members in the club now. And the sad part is when you have 130, you would assume maybe 50% of people would be zooming into their meeting. Well, their membership is made up of older people who
Right.
do not do computers, and their attendance is usually around 20 to 25 people in attendance by Zoom. I go to the West Side Club. West Side Clubs happens to be a younger club, and their membership, I want to say, is around 65 members, and they have usually 30 to 35 members in attendance. So 50% of them are attending by Zoom. And my club, it's also made up of older people. And so we needed to meet in person. So when Golden Corral, because he happens to be in our Rotary Club as a member, he reached out to us and he said, you know what? He says, I'm not opening the Golden Corral in Northeast, but we're going to open up on North Mesa. And so we drive all the way to the other side of town to go to the new meeting. And so a lot of the olders that never came to the Zoom meeting are in-person meeting. And so we are going to continue with the Zoom.
Yeah, and I
Plus
expect
in person, hybrid.
Yeah.
So that's the decision was made by a lot of the older members.
Yeah.
Yes, Heather.
Do any of you have also as part of your club a virtual club that maybe is in another town that is part of your Rotary Club that just meets on Zoom?
So if I understand your question, we have a member who moved to Colorado and did not leave the club. When he is able to participate, he still will participate by Zoom. And what we've had to think about is our current bylaws don't reinforce the notion that a member can be in another area. But with Zoom, that's something that we may be thinking about. Like he's an exception because he moved. We're using his restaurant for our morning meeting and he's still very involved. It's like, do we change the bylaws that currently have, a single county or a single area, and with Zoom maybe open it up? Tom mentioned there's a Rotary Club that has members from 20 countries in it.
Yeah. I think Zoom's going to change our whole world related to Rotary clubs.
Yeah.
The other thing that'll have to change is constitution. The club constitution states that your membership should come from the county that your club is located in, or contiguous counties. So the fact that we have somebody living in, not one, we have two. We have one that lives in Denver. We have another one that lives in California. I don't know if is he still a member of the club?
James?
Yeah, James?
No, he's an honorary member. I think we made him an honorary.
Okay, okay. But the fact that we have somebody up in Colorado who he owns a restaurant that is in our our area of membership, but that's not his home anymore. So now that begins to get a little fuzzy. But I think maybe even the COVID situation may force Rotary into relooking at their constitution. Because the only things we can change in the constitution is the name of the club and our geographic area. Okay, that's the only things we have control over.
Well, we
Well,
have
but
a
you
couple of members. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
But you could change your geographic area to cover the US, right?
No, well, again, they'd have to change the rules, which say your geographic area is the county that you live, that your club is in, plus the contiguous counties, the ones that border it. You
Yeah.
can draw from those areas for membership.
If I can just interrupt just for a second, Don, can you unmute? We just want to make sure you're part of the discussion.
I've tried to get a hold of Don, but hasn't responded.
Okay. Heather, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we have a couple of people that are interested in joining our Rotary Club, but they live in Lordsburg, and that Lordsburg is a very small community. And so we were looking at maybe just having them be a satellite club. So maybe we could get together. I don't know if they were interested in getting together once every 2 months. Maybe we could get together as a whole every 3 months, have a lunch together, and then the rest of the time they could meet either with us or they could meet themselves, and then we could get together and meet. So it's really, this Zoom has really changed a whole lot, and we really have to adapt.
Isn't it interesting that before this, we still had e-clubs, right? E-clubs
Yep.
exist.
Mhm.
They have a reason to exist. And now we've all kind of morphed into hybrid e-clubs.
Yeah.
But there is a huge difference, though. The e-clubs are actually separate Rotary clubs.
No,
With
but my
their-
point is they were all electronic. They were all,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
and now we're all kind of like that.
Now
We're all-
everybody's been forced.
So
into
we're they were ahead of the curve on this.
So how are the e-clubs handling this constitution issue? Because e-clubs aren't necessarily limited to a
Because
county.
e-clubs, I believe, are described now. I think there is a section in the Constitution that covers that.
Yeah.
I think Rotary has figured that one out. Now Rotary is going to have to look very closely at the Constitution as it applies to the response to COVID, and the fact that I think a lot of organizations are going to continue to meet virtually.
And we're seeing the same thing at the district level. So when COVID restrictions are lifted and we can go back to in-person training, there are still a number of people that say, but I prefer to stay online. I don't want to travel,
Right.
6 hours to Las Cruces for a conference or so there may be hybrid trainings where people still want to get in person, but there may not be everyone. So it's at the district level too.
I think that's exactly right, Jeff. You're doing such a good job. Everybody will want to do it this way.
Well, this whole club administration thing, to me, always was important, even though no one understood it. Now it's even more important because of COVID and hybrid meetings and more focus on logistics. Logistics used to be easy. Now you got it. Now it's almost like you have to plan, right? And we did this in our club. Bruce and I talked about it, but you don't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden you've got your AV set up in your restaurant. There's a lot of planning and testing. One thing we learned when all of this started, the clubs that started this model, what they learned is they had to test first. So they came up with a model. Okay, here's the equipment we need. Here's the setup. Here's who's going to host the meeting. Here's how we're going to get the speakers. They had to test because pretty much across the board, the first time they tried it, it didn't work. So all of a sudden, I think this, if your club has this club administration committee with logistics responsibilities, you've got a lot of this planning and testing and trying different things until you get the system that works best for your setup.
Yeah.
So Bruce was saying, I chair our satellite group. and our meetings start at 5:30. My co-chair and I, we are there at 5 o'clock, setting up the technology for 30 minutes. And sometimes we need more than that, but we're
Yeah.
there early because we expect there's going to be problems like the Wi-Fi is not working, we can't log in. You know, there was one meeting, I don't know if you remember, Bruce, I had to use my phone data plan because the Wi-Fi just wasn't working at the restaurant. So
Right.
I hosted a Rotary meeting from my phone. So you just have to have flexibility. Okay, we've got another unassigned participant. Keep the discussion going. I will be right back.
Okay. All right. Hey, you know, what's going on up there at RI in order to, I mean, these virtual meetings have opened up a whole can of worms, sort of, so to speak, in terms of membership.
Yep.
Now you can have a membership in your club who lives in Australia if you wanted.
Sure.
You know, if all the requirement is that they meet the meetings, if they attend the meetings, and you set up a Zoom or any other, or Google, or use any of the you know,
Yep.
online meeting programs. I teach for the Department of Energy, and everything that we've taught this year has been online.
Exactly.
We don't use Zoom though, but still, you know, they have a contract with another company. But at any rate, this is a whole new ballgame for them. You know, I guarantee you right now they have to be looking at that and trying to figure out, what is this going to do? How do we want it? Clubs are going to continue to do this. People are not going to be in the same state, maybe, but want to remain members of the club. And that's what happened with us, with where we meet. Steve Reynolds is a member, has been a longtime member of the club, good friend of mine. I have family up there near where they live. We see him all the time when we go up to see them, and he doesn't want to leave the club.
Yep.
He has a business here, so he has ties in Albuquerque, but he just doesn't live here. But that's not what the Constitution says. It's where you live.
So,
So
Jeff,
I'll
do you have Tom's contact information?
Bianca, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was going to say this discussion kind of goes against what we were talking about a little earlier, is that the young people want to join the club and be active. So now we have, you know, if you get somebody living in Colorado for a New Mexico club, they're not going to participate in your service projects. So now we have two different mindsets
Yep.
going on already today.
Yeah, or
So-
can they do a service project in Colorado, and does that count?
Yeah. Well, that would,
Yeah.
that would be a one-person project.
That would be a
you know.
one-person project, or that one, they might round up a few friends and say, hey, my club wants to do this, you know, I'm
Yeah.
going to do it for my club. Will you guys help? Something like that.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of interesting what ifs
Mhm.
as a result of what's going on. Go ahead, Heather.
I would think it would open up a lot more opportunities. You could get with a local club there in Colorado and say, hey, I belong to this club in New Mexico, and how can we work together and kind of make it work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
Yep.
what we're seeing as a result of COVID, as a result of all of the, you know, it's all of the neat things that Rotarians are doing to keep going and to make things happen. You know, our club still, we're still doing projects. We are, you know, wearing masks and building ramps for wheelchair people who can't get in and out of their homes. And we are delivering meals for Meals on Wheels. And so we're still doing the things that we've always done. We just do it wearing a mask, and we do it, you know, maintaining social distancing and that sort of thing. Eventually all that's going to go away. But I think the remnants of that and the practicality of teaching and learning and participating online, I think they're going to be with us forever.
As others have said much more elegantly than I could, we're going to be in a new normal.
Absolutely.
We're not going back to how it used to be. We're going to a new state that incorporates what we've learned and what worked well during this phase and added it to what we used to do before. There was something in the chat. I'm going to be sending out Tom's PowerPoint, Bob, and I think his email address is in it. If not, I'll include it.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I wanted to bring up was that club service. So remember, avenues of service used to be how boards were formed. Avenues of service still exist, but a club committee typically oversees a particular avenue of service. So if you think about it, community service is likely going to be within the purview of service projects committee, if that's what you call it. Or international service would likely be under the Rotary Foundation committee, especially if you have a global grant. Okay. Club service as an avenue of service is generally within this group's purview. It's club administration. It's what are we doing for the members? Which is why it combines the social aspects of the membership, the getting together socially, and all the logistics stuff, the meetings, the speakers. So in some ways, if you think about avenues of service, club service is the best fit for a club administration committee. It's not 100%, but it's pretty close. And so if you're an avenue of service thinker, that's one way to think about club administration. It looks like we have two new folks in our team. Welcome, Nelson, and welcome, Claudia. So does that help? And if you look at the job description, it looks like club service, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. Social events. Who does your social events? Is that part of your club administration committee, or do you have somebody set aside to do that for social events?
We still have club service in our club, and then that person takes care of the club socials.
Oh, okay. It's under club service and not necessarily the club administration.
No,
Okay.
we really don't have a club administration.
In other words, whatever those roles are handled by club service.
Right.
Okay. Bob, how about you? How about Rio Grande?
We have service project committees and a chairman that's on the board. And then we have club administration, which is primarily getting programs. When we were meeting in person, there was just an individual who was in charge of arranging social.
Okay. Let's go down and talk to our new guests. Nelson, what club are you from?
Camino Real, El Paso.
Okay. What do you guys do there at Camino Real?
Oh, we do a lot of things.
Boy, do they. Boy, do they.
Yeah, socially.
The way we
Is a social chair part of club admin, or do they exist separately or in a different organization?
no, it's a club service.
Club service.
Yes, club service is in charge of all the events for the members. And then we leave we really don't have a club administration. We have the secretary and the treasurer pretty much sharing those responsibilities.
Okay. And Claudia, how about your club there up in Santa Fe?
We do have a club admin and a service person as well, but we're so small that pretty much someone take the lead and does it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it kind of just drifts around to whoever wants to help out, huh? As far as social events?
Yes.
Okay. And who else we got with us? It says
Peg just joined.
Hi, Peg. Unmute yourself, and you're from White Sands, so we're talking about the fact that this club administration committee, many of the roles could also be found in club service, one of the 5 avenues of service. But so we're just going to figure out how people do things. And I knew this was going to be when I was talking with Jeff, when we first started talking about this particular breakout. One of the things we kind of came to the conclusion was everybody's going to be different. Of all the different committees and different avenues of service, this one I think is the most loosely organized as far as what different clubs do, and especially changes based on the size of your club. So what do you guys do at White Sands as far as social? Is that part of your club admin, or do you have somebody just separately that takes care of that?
Well, we were working to redo all our committees and everything right before the pandemic started. And so that's really never finished the process. But we kind of had I'm trying to think what we called it, but we kind of had a social committee. We have one member who really likes to take that on, who's been a member, I think, since the inception of our club. And so he kind of leads the committee, and we usually get a couple other people. And then he tries to plan pretty regular things. Sometimes it's like we go up to Alto to the Flying J Ranch where, you have a cowboy thing, or we go out to dinner somewhere. We've done stuff at people's houses. We do whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Here's one thing to think about. If you think about club service, remember you mentioned that that's kind of how you couch this. And I like to think about it like this also. And think about what Tom said about member engagement, right? That so many people who join Rotary leave in the first couple of years. The club administration committee, since it's serving the membership, you all are critical to keeping people engaged. Service projects are great, but there are other things that they need for a rich experience. They need social activities, they need good programs and good speakers and all of that. So strategically, and the reason I bring this up is a lot of times club administration is thought of as operations, tactical. Yes, it has to be done. Yes, we've got to have a room. Yes, we've got to have food. Yes, we've got to have a speaker. But strategically, what you all do in this role, or what your committees do, has a direct effect on the engagement of your membership. And so strategically, if your club has member goals, which I assume they do, your committee and your function should be part of the strategy to engage your membership. Does that make sense? You're not doing your own thing. I mean, you are, but you should be doing it in conjunction with engaging the members.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to goal setting and developing strategy, you all, the club administration committee or club service, whatever you want to call it, should be included in the discussion of at least the membership goals. Are any of you incoming presidents? Bob, yeah, so just something to think about. Peg, yeah. So in terms of your membership strategy, this thing that we're talking about should be part of it. It's just not the membership committee's responsibility, right? They may own the goal, but this group, this club service, club administration is very important to that.
Go ahead, Heather.
Thanks, Bruce. I would like to add that our club recently, since we've come out of this pandemic, they were all getting very restless and really, just tired of being at home and not being able to visit socially with our members in our Rotary Club. And so we started doing a Rotary social. It's the last Thursday of every month. And it fell oddly enough to the president-elect, which was a little interesting. I think I missed a meeting and they voted me in to do that. So don't miss a meeting. But it's been a lot of fun. We've had between 10 to 15 members come. It's slow, but they're coming back. They enjoy drinks and some hors d'oeuvres. And just, I thought at first maybe they'd want to play games or there'd be something. They just want to sit and talk to their friends. They really are not interested. They'd like a little bit of music in the background. Other than that, they just kind of want to decompress and just enjoy the club. So that's what we've been doing. And we've done 2 of them now and they're growing. So then that's something that maybe some of your other members would like. Just no pressure. We do door prizes. We continue with a 50-50. So there's a little other things there, incentives to kind of come and see if you can win the door prize and things like that.
Cool.
Well, our club has actually started to meet regularly again at the restaurant. The restaurant, what is it now? Is it 50% occupancy they can do?
Yeah.
Something like that, which is plenty big enough for our club, where our club is 60, but about how many do we have now in our satellite group, Jeff?
About 10.
About 10, so 50. So, you know, they'll have maybe 25 or 30 people show up. This is only the second week that we've done it. But there's still a group of us that are holdouts that we're still, you know, we're not ready but that's the way, you know, some people are more anxious to get together and socialize. Others are not quite there yet for good reason. For example, in my family, I told my wife, I said, I'm not going to be going back until everybody in the family has had 2 weeks after their last shot. You know, when everybody in the family is immune, I'll consider going back to the club. So probably next.
One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, going back to the membership strategy, is if any of you who are incoming presidents, if you have decided or are planning to do a member survey, the feedback from that survey will also affect the work of the club administration committee, or whatever you're going to call it, because they're going to have feedback on the meetings, the programs, social activities. I remember when we did our member survey and we said, you know, why are you in Rotary? Number 1 was service and number 2 is fellowship. So if you're planning on doing a survey, or if you've already done the survey, some of that feedback on the member experience, the responsibility to work on that, if there's things that they think can be done better, is going to be with this group.
Jeff, is there a survey that Rotary International puts out that's a little bit more simple than the one that we have? We had members that just flat out wouldn't do it. And it was a little easier to meet with them in person and just sit down and talk with them.
No,
and see what they were
not
thinking.
no. But what I would suggest, Heather, is take a look at what's there and pull out snippets that you think would be helpful. Just don't use it. Plus, it's not electronic. You know, we're talking about how the Rotarian is not electronic format. Neither are their surveys. So I would say generate something in SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or something like that, and take snippets of things that you think are going to be relevant to what your club needs. When I did it, it was a 1-pager. It was like, if I can't, I'm with a mindset, if I can't put something on a single page, it's too long. So it was a 1-pager and it was electronic. I think it was in SurveyMonkey. And it was sufficient. We didn't need all that detail. And so, no, I wish they did, but no. But again, you can look at what they have and say, oh, I think these would be helpful, and just pull out little snippets and create your own. Even though we did it electronically though, we had a few members who had no internet, no computer. They got paper copies. So we made sure that they were able to provide feedback, but we made sure that we had an electronic format because most people preferred it. And we got a very high rate of return, in part because of that.
Thank you.
So what other questions or topics would you like to cover? You know, we want to go over like the main aspects. It doesn't matter what you call this group. It doesn't matter if they're all under one umbrella, although I like the idea of it being under one umbrella because I think it kind of focuses. But we've talked about the social stuff. We talked about the logistics. We talked about hybrid meetings. It does mention in the job description club communications. So again, I think that would be done like with the secretary and maybe with the public image group to do like newsletters and websites and things. Is that is that within the purview of whatever this group is that you have at your clubs? Internal communications? It is? Okay. So again, that's something else for us to consider is, you know, Tom mentioned it. There are Rotary clubs who their communications are now through a single app. Like WhatsApp or GroupMe or something. I just got a chat. Let me see. Oh, okay. But, you know, thinking about what communication mechanisms work for the membership, whether it's email or newsletters or WhatsApp or GroupMe or group text or Facebook groups or whatever it is, just as long as we're communicating with the membership, right? And providing them with useful information and keeping them engaged. A lot of people said that those communications really did keep the membership engaged, especially with COVID when we weren't meeting as much. Any thoughts or any feedback on that from what you've experienced? Jimmy, I'd be interested as an AG, what are you seeing in terms of what's working well related to internal communications right now?
Well, really, I have to speak on one Rotary Club that I visited weekly, and that's the West Side Rotary Club. The president, when she came in, of course, she came in when all this pandemic hit, and she took upon herself to take on a theme, plane, trains, and automobiles was her theme. And then when she went through all of that, she decided to get topic on war heroes. And she was able to get people from all over the United States to be speakers. The guy that takes care of Route 66, he happened to be living in back east. He talked about the Route 66 program, the highway system. He talked about it. And then about the plane museum. And I mean, there was this, and that's one of the reasons why their club has done so well with people coming to the meetings. And so they got a hold of a gentleman that has a museum. They were the Navajo that fought in World War II. They talked Navajo language during the World War. And that was interesting. And so because of that, the people are coming to that meeting. And I hate to say it, but like I was talking about the El Paso Club being the largest, 130. Well, 2 people from that club actually transferred their membership to the West Side when they heard about what kind of speakers they were having and what they were doing. And so that's one way of getting, you know, people involved. And so I was very, very impressed with that. Now, the El Paso Zaragoza Club, they're a very, very small meeting. Typically, they have been having about 4 or 5 members on Zoom. And so the past president of that club, she's a charter president. She happens to know people all over the world. And so she invited them to come to the Zoom meeting. So every week there is a person from Costa Rica that comes to the meeting. There's a lady from California, and these are Rotarians. And so the Rotary Club, even their club is small, they're getting input from Rotarians other parts of the country. So really amazing.
You know, one thing we talked about during pets.
Hey, Jimmy,
oh.
on those clubs that have such great speakers, if you could encourage them to put their speakers on the Speakers Bureau on our district website, that would be awesome, because that is not a very robust Speakers Bureau that we have there. And to have some of those would be spectacular.
I will tell that. I'll give that information to the president.
Don't just encourage it, require it.
Require it. Okay,
Right.
I will require it.
You
And
are part of the district leadership.
Yes.
You
I
know,
also, I'm the facilitator for our council presidents meeting every month. And so I sent out 28 links to other Rotarians in our district that are joining us to learn about our council presidents meeting. We've been having council presidents meeting for 30, 40 years. And so it's really an opportunity to help each other through this pandemic. And so you're more than welcome to join us at it's always on the second Tuesday of every month at 7 a.m. And I put my my link there and email there, and you're welcome to send me an email, and I would be glad to send you a link.
and I think they're now advertised on the homepage of the district website.
Yes, it is.
Great. Are there any other questions about club administration that we wanted to go over? I hope this was helpful. Whether you're part of a group like this or you're president-elect, but it is the mysterious unknown out there, and hopefully we help clarify a few things about it. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. This part of the assembly is done. This breakout room is done. We've covered what we need to cover. Bruce, are you good with what we covered?
I'm sorry.
Are you good with what we covered?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, you have two choices. You can either join breakout room 4, which is going to be going on for another couple hours, or you can exit. I'm going to go to the main room. So but you can join it yourself. That is, I'm going to go to the main room. And if you can't join it, like a few people couldn't, I will assign you to that room. Okay.